Welcome back. We're getting ready to do our final section here in combination vehicles for our CDL prep. This is going to be for the combination vehicle portion of the test to get your permit. We're going to start on page 6-10 and we're going to start with section 6.5. Inspecting combination vehicle. This shouldn't go too long. Just keep in mind when you're inspecting things, you can break it down to the material that the item you're inspecting is made out of. So for things like metal, we're always going to start with properly mounted, not damaged. What does that mean? Properly mounted. All the bolts and nuts are tight, the threads are not damaged, the nuts are secure, no rust or shiny behind the nuts. Is it a moving part? If it's a moving part, is it lubricated? If it's made out of metal, is it illegally welded or cracked or damaged, bent, twisted, and things of that nature? If it's made out of glass or plastic, properly mounted, not damaged, it's clean, clear, and it's working. It's not cracked, missing, or broken. If it's a colored lens or a light, it needs to be the proper color. Facing forward, the front of the vehicle is going to be amber and clear. The rear of the vehicle is going to be red. DOT reflective tape down the side or the back. The side of the vehicle, 50% DOT tape. Those tapes are treated just like a light, so if they're torn, ripped, or damaged, you can get a citation for having a light out. If you go across the back, everything's red, everything's working. Reflective tape's 100% across the back and DOT bumper. So those are types of things. It's made out of glass or plastic, and lights are inspecting as rubber, properly mounted, not damaged. There's no abrasion, bumps, or cuts. No exposed wires or threads. No audible air leaks or no fluid leaks, because if you're talking about rubber, it's usually a hose or a tire or something that's transferring air or liquid. So no leaks is going to be important. Nuts and bolts. You can't just check the nut. You need to check the bolt and the threads of the bolts. There's no damage to the threads. The nuts are secure. There's no rust or shiny behind the nuts. That would be an indication of them being loose. None missing, of course. Things like that. That's not everything, but we'll get into that when you come to class. If you don't come to my class, at least you got a little head start. 6.5, inspecting a combination vehicle. Use the 7-step inspection procedure described in section 2 to inspect your combination vehicle. There are more things to inspect on a combination vehicle than on a single vehicle. For example, tires, wheels, lights, reflectors, etc. However, there are also some new things to check. So if you go back to general knowledge, section 2, they had the inspection procedures. And I highlighted a bunch of stuff that I know is going to be on there. I may not catch everything, but this is not excusing you from reading the material. This will help you focus on some of the known questions. These are questions I know they ask. I'm not catching everything, I'm pretty sure of that. And you guys hopefully give me some feedback, and the more information you give me, the more I'll be able to add to this, and we'll catch more and more questions. Different states, like we focus on Minnesota and North Dakota. If Texas or Utah or California is doing something, hey, send it to us. I'm pretty sure this class will help you get a permit. Am I going to miss some things? Sure, because I'm not familiar with those states and what they're doing. But hey, at the end of the day, it's all the same manual, minus that first preface section there. Page 6-10, 6.5 up here at the top right. Inspecting a combination vehicle. We talked about we're going to use that 7-step. Go back to section 2, and I even have a video for it. Go back to section 2. 6.5.1. Additional things to check during a walk-around inspection. So a walk-around would be a pre-trip or a post-trip inspection. Probably not a during trip, because you're driving at that point, right? Do these checks in addition to those already listed in section 2. So we've done general knowledge. Now we're getting specific to combination vehicles. Coupling system area. Coupling, that is your fifth wheel skid plates. That is your mounting of your fifth wheel. That is your aprons. They're not calling it an apron here. They're calling it something else, but it is an apron. It's the flat part of the trailer. They may call it a glide plate. This pin sticking out the front is going to be a kingpin. These are the things we're checking. So let's see if anything pops out that we need to highlight. If I highlight it, chances are you're going to see it on a test. Check fifth wheel lower. The lower fifth wheel, that's the fifth wheel. That's on the tractor. Okay? So it's mounted properly. It's got to have at least 5 bolts on each side mounting it to the frame. If it's a sliding fifth wheel, The sliding fifth wheel has to be in the lock position. You'll see the pins in between underneath the frame there that goes to each side of the locking mechanism. The reason they slide is to help distribute weight. So securely mounted to the frame with no less than 5 bolts on each side. No missing or damaged parts. Enough grease. Remember, the fifth wheel skid plate is a moving part because the trailer twists on top of it. No visible space between the upper and lower fifth wheel. This is what they would consider to be the upper fifth wheel, the trailer flat portion. That would be the upper. The lower would be the fifth wheel skid plate itself. So we don't want to see a gap between the apron or upper fifth wheel and the lower fifth. No gap, no space. We talked about that when we took our knowledge test on the other sections there, right? Locking jaws around the shank, not the head of the kingpin. This is the head. You don't want the jaws around here or this setting on top of the jaws. We want the jaws in this narrow, skinny part of the shank. We'll highlight that because I've seen that on tests before. No visible space. We've seen that before too, so let's highlight that. And grease. All right, make sure it's greased. What can not having enough grease do? It can affect your ability to steer the vehicle. If it's not greased, it's not turning properly. It's going to have, even though it's not connected to your steering wheel, it could still seize it up and give you make it difficult for you to steer the vehicle. Release arm properly seated and safety latch lock engaged. Again, it's hard to explain a safety latch because most of our Western style trucks or American trucks don't have these safety latches they're talking about. But underneath the fifth wheel there's a release handle that you pull to open up the jaws so you can uncouple. When you connect it, it usually automatically locks. You don't have to push the handle back in. It locks, and there's sometimes a flap, a metal little hinge is only on one pivot swivel here, and you have to bring it over top of the handle. That would be a safety latch. And that's going to be a question on your test, even though I can't show you one because we don't have them. But safety latch is engaged. So release arm properly seated and the safety latch engaged. Safety latch, it may be a specific question about a safety latch, but a safety latch goes over top of the release handle to keep it from backing out. Our fifth wheels don't do that. I'm not sure what they're doing in Europe, but hey, more to them, right? Check the fifth wheel upper. So we're talking about the apron again. This is the apron. The glide plate securely mounted to the trailer and the frame. Okay, yeah, properly greased. That's what we want to check. No daylight between there. That's the things we want to focus on. Air and electrical lines through the trailer. So firmly plugged in and locked. It says secure, but it has when you put the electrical plug in, it's got a flap, and you push it in, and on that flap it has a little notch in it to lock it into place. So that's why when it's secured. Air lines properly connected to the glad hands. No air leaks, properly secured with enough slack for turns. That's important. All lines free of damage. The air lines and their electrical, what kind of damage can they have? Abrasions, bumps, or cuts because they're made out of rubber. Leaks, bad connections, not sealed for the air lines. Touching the catwalk, they cannot touch the catwalk. The electrical lines, no cuts, no tape. That the lines aren't tangled or twisted. And again, it's locked into place. No exposed wires on your electrical lines. Sliding fifth wheel, slide not damaged, missing parts, properly greased. All locking pins are present and locked into place. That applies to your sliding fifth wheel. And that is part of your pre-trip inspection as well when we're doing a physical pre-trip for our test, our road test. If powered, you don't want any leaks. I don't have to tell you that. Landing gear, fully raised. Crank handle in place and secure. So it's locked in its bracket. It's in the travel position. Combination vehicle brake check. Do these brake checks in addition to section 5.3, inspecting the air brake system. So we've done our air brakes. So we're going to add one more element. Remember, we done our air brake test, and we done the governor test, we done the applied test, we done a static test, we done the low error warning lights test, and we done the tractor protection valve or the emergency brakes popped out by themselves. So go back and do the air brakes if you've got questions about that. And you, again, we got them videoed and we got the videos numbered in which section they're in. So go back to section 5.3 and you'll read that again. I don't want to have to go back and do it again right now. The following section explains how to check air brakes on a combination vehicle. Check the brakes on a double or triple trailer as you would any combination vehicle. So it doesn't really change. Check that the air flows to all trailers. How do you check if I have doubles and triples? And this is not doubles and triples section, but if we have doubles and triples, how would I make sure that the air is flowing to all the trailers? First, I need to make sure that I'm coupled properly. All my air lines in between trailers, tractor, in between the different trailers are connected. And the way I would check it, I would release my trailer brake, push it in. Then I would walk, and my tractor brake's still on, so it's parking brake's on. So I'd walk to the back and I'd inspect, make sure they're all open. Then I get to the very last trailer and I'll open up the valves on the back of the trailer. If I turn the red line and air flows through, I know that air is flowing through all the trailers. Service brakes, as long as the air lines are open in between and the last one is closed, I know that they're not crossed because air is coming out of the red emergency side. So that's how we'd check it. Use the tractor parking brake and chalk the wheels. Wait for air pressure to reach normal, blah, blah, blah. You can read it yourself. Go to the rear of the rig. Open the emergency line, shut off valve at the rear of the last trailer. You should hear air escaping, showing the entire air system is charged. Close the line, close the emergency line prior to driving it. If you want to check the service line, that all comes through. This test assumes that the trailer handbrake or the brake pedal's on. So that's how you check it. So some of them are spring loaded. So if I'm going to check that one, again, they say go back and check the chalk the tires. So yeah, release your parking brake and chalk the tires, release both brakes. Get you a handbag or something with weight and hang it on your service line. And we'll go to the back. We'll open up the red one, open up the blue one. Air should be coming through both. This is going to be a question. They're going to ask you about this. So the biggest thing is, how do you check? You go to the back of the trailer, and that's going to be the answer. Go to the back of the trailer, open and close the valves to see if air is flowing through. If you do not hear air, that's just the information you read. Test the tractor protection valve. How do I check it? Remember, the tractor protection valve is connected to your red emergency line, and it goes before your red button to make it pop out. So how do we check that? Charge the trailer air brake system. That is, build up normal air pressure. What is normal? Between 100 and 125. That's normal operating range. If it's not between 100 and 125, you shouldn't be driving it yet, right? That's not normal pressure. And push in the air supply knob in. So that's the red button, the air supply, the trailer air supply. The yellow one's parking. It's going to say parking on it. The red one's going to be trailer air supply. Shut the engine off. Step on and off the brake pedal several times to reduce air pressure in the tanks. The trailer air supply control, also called the tractor protection valve control, should pop out or go from normal to emergency position. So they're saying a lot of stuff here. The button pops out. Fan the brakes, engine off, buttons are in, fan the brakes till the buttons pop out. Go back to air brake system and that section 5, what did they say was 5.3, and go back and read those procedures. I'll go over the air brake test for you quickly to cover the whole thing, just so you remember it, so you may not have to go back. Air brake test. First thing we're going to test is our governor. So the governor, the engine has to be on, brakes released. That means the brakes are off. You're on level ground. We're retracting that part. Brakes released, engine on. Fan the brakes below 100 to force the governor to cut in at 100 or less, and wait for the air dryer to purge. It'll go psh, and look at your gauge. It should cut out around 125 to 140, 120 to 140. Identify where it cuts out at. The book says 125, right? So let's go with that. Once you've done that, we're going to do the applied test. Now, if we do a static test, that is engine off, brakes off. So it may not say static, but maybe you see the phrase engine off, brakes off. We're not applying anything. We're not doing anything. That just means our buttons are pushed in and our engine is turned off. Our switch is turned on so we can see our gauges. You time it for 1 minute. In a combination vehicle, I should not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute. In a single vehicle, I should not lose more than 2 psi in 1 minute. Now we move to the apply test. Same thing, engine off, brakes off. Press and hold the brake pedal. Wait for the gauge to settle. It should settle around 100 because you started with maximum pressure. Press and hold for 1 minute. In a combination vehicle, I should not lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute. Straight truck or bus or a single vehicle, I should not lose more than 3 psi on the applied test. After the applied test is complete, we're going to fan the brakes, engine off, brakes off, fan the brakes. Our low air warning light should come on around 60 psi or before 60 psi. Keep fanning the brakes, and remember our brakes are off and our engine is off. So we're going to make sure that the buttons pop out, therefore checking our tractor protection valve. So go back and read those procedures again. That's how we check the tractor protection valve and your trailer air supply. And again, that number, again, you've seen us 1,000 times if you've watched any of these videos so far. It's usually within the range of 20 to 45 psi, that tractor protection valve will close. Test trailer emergency brakes. You read this yourself up here. I don't need to read that to you, but I don't want you just reading the highlighted areas. I want you to read the whole thing. That's how you're going to pass this test. So, test the trailer emergency brakes. Charge that trailer air brake system and check that the trailer rolls freely. Then stop and pull out the trailer air supply control, also called the tractor protection valve, or the trailer emergency valve, or place it in emergency position. Pull gently on the trailer with the tractor to check that the trailer emergency brakes are on. So how do we check it? I want to isolate the trailer from the rest of the vehicle. So how I do that? I set the trailer brake, the trailer air supply, the red knob. I'm going to pull it out, push the yellow one in, put it in gear, and do a tug test again, right? Tug test. So my brakes are holding on the spring brake, so that is a spring brake that we're checking, and the coupling doesn't separate. Push them both in, roll forward, and hit your brake. Does the vehicle stop? That's a service brake check. Now, if I want to isolate the service brake on the trailer, that's the air brake, not the spring brake. I will, both brakes released, pull my Johnny bar, my trolley valve, my trailer brake, pull it down and hold it, put it in gear, and do another tug test, just like I did with the spring brake. But what's operating it now is the air brakes. That would be another tug test. So that's how you check your service brakes. So you can go back and read this stuff here. We've already covered most of this. Again, pull gently on the trailer to check the tractor emergency brakes are on, right? That's the emergency, so that is your spring brake. And check for normal air pressure. On the service brakes, you should feel the brakes come on. This tells you the trailer is connected. So, yep. You read this. I'll highlight this. Just read that whole section there. Tester knowledge. This is the last quiz that I'm going to give you on here. Then we're going to be finished with general knowledge, air brakes, and combination vehicle. I hope this helps you. I really do. This is the same type of class I give. I get a lot more feedback when I have an in-person class with people raising their hands and asking questions and covering things they may have questions about. I've tried to cover as much as I can remember. Let's go to number 1 here. Which shutoff valves should be open and which closed? So remember what shutoff valves are. They're the valves on the back of your trailers that allow you to connect multiple trailers. So they all should be open except for the last ones. If the last ones are not open, I'm just expelling air to the atmosphere. So I don't want to do that. So that's what they are. Which shutoffs shall be open? All of them except for the last one. That's your answer to that question. How can you test the air flows through all trailers? Chalk your tires, release your brakes. If you want to do service, again, you'll have your trailer air service, put something on it, hold it down. Then walk to the back of the trailer, the very last trailer if you have multiple trailers. You open up the red valve, the emergency valve. If air flows freely, it's flowing. Same thing with the blue. If I've got something holding my trailer brake down, my service brake down, I open up the blue one, and if air is coming out, it's flowing properly. Make sure you close them. How can you test the tractor protection valve? We do that by brakes released, engine off, brakes release, fan the brakes down. Every time you push that brake pedal, you're releasing air out of the system. The engine's off, so the compressor is not keeping up with the system. So once it gets between 20 and 45 psi, that tractor protection valve should close. It should pop out. However they format the question or the answer, that's how it's going to be, and it should be multiple choice. How can you test the trailer emergency brakes? That's your red buttons again. So release the parking brake, set the trailer brake, put it into a lower gear, and do a tug test. Release your clutch, feel it, gentle pull, push it back in. If it doesn't roll freely, your emergency brakes are working. And how can I test the trailer service brakes? Brakes released, both buttons, yellow and red, parking brake and trailer air supply released. Hold the Johnny bar down, put it in the gear, do a tug test against it. Some people will even roll forward and pull it down and make it stop. So that's how you check the service brake. You're isolating the service brakes. I hope this has been helpful. Make sure you go subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends if they're trying to get their CDL permit. It does take a while. This is a long class. Usually when I'm doing this class in person, it takes me 2 days. 2 days, 1 full day for general knowledge, and then half a day or a little bit longer for air brakes and combination. So please give yourself time. Don't think you're going to learn all this in a minute. But again, I'm not saying don't read the entire manual, because you should. The sections I'm giving you, general knowledge, air brakes, and combination, read through it, but focus on those highlighted areas. Those highlighted areas I know are going to be on your test somewhere. So that's a lot of questions answered already if we can just focus on these things and know what they mean. And if you need endorsements, you can go to the other sections of the book and get your endorsements. Please give us some feedback, especially to our students that are planning to come to class, to our sponsors that want to give it to their clients, and to the companies, the corporate companies that we use, that use us. If you got any questions, feel free to give us a call. You can reach us at www.commercialeducationandsafety.com, or you can reach us on Facebook at Commercial Education and Safety or CES Minnesota. Thanks for watching the videos, and I hope it's helpful.